Hello, I'm back. Oh my gosh, y'all. Long time no see. I have missed you guys so very much. I apologize for a few weeks of hiatus from this podcast. I was gallivanting. I was traveling a lot for work. And I mean, like, what more could we possibly want? So, everything you missed, everything we need to discuss, debrief on. Let's do that now. And then we can go forward and I can try to catch you up on everything I've read since I've last spoken to you, because I mean this sincerely when I say we are so back. Like, so unbelievably back. It is the end of September and I have read 15 books this month. This has never been seen before on the podcast. This used to be my norm and things have changed. It has not been the case as of late, as in, when I say late, I mean 2025, but we're back to business, and I can't wait to dive into the latest and greatest with you. Okay, life update, reading update. Sound good? Where have I been? What have I been up to? Great question. 1, I went on another retreat with Fiction Found. I might have spoken to you since then, but I really don't think I have. So, little book retreat, Michigan, Holland, stunning. Unbelievably stunning. And yet again, just the best like community and found family and vibes in the world. If you have ever been interested in going on a book retreat, I could not possibly recommend it more. I spoke about this when I got back from my Knoxville retreat in March, but it's such a beautiful thing to be in a room with 16 women and to have a common interest and common love. Like, you have a book in common with every single woman in that room, and I think that is such a beautiful, underrated thing. It gives you something to talk about with them and dive into together. So I really love a book retreat. So that's what I was doing early August, and then I was working away. I had officially left my corporate job as of August 4th. Crazy town. So no more corporate, all book things for me. And then early September, so the last week of August, first week of September, I was at the beach celebrating a bachelorette trip. I was working while I was down there. I was reading quite a bit while I was down there. And then a few family events over the course of the next few weekends. And then I was in Whitefish, Montana for Books by the Lake. Shout out to everyone I got to meet at Books by the Lake. There's nothing I love more than getting to meet this community out and about and in person. So if you were one of those people, hello. It was so great to see you. And shout out Catherine Cowles. Shout out meeting Corinne Michaels in person. Shout out Laura Pavlov, Lena Hendricks, Kay Cove, Victoria Wilder, got to see her again. I mean, the list goes on. The lineup was stacked. It was unbelievable. And now we are kind of in a holding pattern. We're going to be in Waco, Texas, visiting my sister. Shout out. And then I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina, allegedly, sitting and moderating a discussion between two of my all-time favorites. That is where I have been. Because of all of this travel, I've had very little to no time to actually edit episodes of the podcast, and so we took a little hiatus. Call it season 1 break, if you will. And we are back, and we are better than ever. And we have obviously been reading, which I know is very important to the foundation of this social media platforms that I have. Let's see, a few of my favorite things, a few updates, lifestyle changes. I got a Kindle Colorsoft, and I love her. I love her so much. I would say if you're in the market for a new Kindle, I loved my Paperwhite like so much. And fundamentally speaking, there's not really a necessity for color on your Kindle. The only people I would recommend a Colorsoft to are people who annotate in color, like myself. I annotate in color for content pulls and for clients. And so that is a very important, helpful feature that helps me eliminate repetitive work in my business. So the Kindle Colorsoft makes sense to me. Also, I work in this industry. It makes sense for me to have the latest and greatest technology, I feel, if I'm able to afford it, of course. With that being said, Kindle Colorsoft, love it. I've only had it for a few days, but I'm loving it. Another device that I got within the past month that has been very, very helpful for me is a Brick. Yes, BRICK. It is a like distraction blocker device. So you tap your phone to it, and you can select the apps that you want to be locked down, and you cannot get into those apps until you tap the brick again. So that's been really helpful, kind of helping me have an actual degree of separation between me and my social media apps. I do feel like I'm an extremely disciplined person. What? Me? Disciplined? Particular? Shocking. I know, but it's true. But even with how disciplined I am, I really did struggle to knock it off and stop doom scrolling. And I mean, these apps are designed for that purpose, to have us hooked. So, I mean, does it stink? Yeah, but it is what it is. So, with that being said, I got a brick, and it has locked down my social media pretty significantly and has allowed me to read a lot more. And I would say my brick is the reason that we've gone from 4, 6, 8 book reading months to 15, 16 book month here this month. And I'm just so happy about that. So, I think that's a good segue. Should we talk about the books? Let's do 2 months worth of a recap. I think that that is the way to go. I think that that is the golden ticket. I think we should chat about all the things I read and what I recommend and go from there. Okay, guys, I'm so happy to be back. Let's pull them up. Let's get out the trusty old Goodreads and let's chat. Okay, so I started the month of August by reading the Siblings of Air series by Jenna Lockwood. I loved it. It was high angst. It was a billionaire romance series. The first book is a friends with benefits situation between a billionaire and an ER nurse. And there's some foster care rep in there, which I really, really loved. She handled that topic with such delicacy and care, and I really appreciated it. And what I have said online over and over again, and I'll repeat again here, that I really appreciate about Jenna's writing is that she does a great job of having a hero story for both the female lead, the male lead, and them as a couple. And so I felt very fulfilled at the end of reading every single one of Jenna's books because I feel like we saw character growth in both of our lead characters and for them as a couple. And I really appreciate that about her writing. So that kind of set the stage with the first book. It's called Never Till Now. And then I read Blurry Little Lines, which is our MMC's sister and our MMC's best friend. So it's best friend's brother. She's the billionaire, single mom. And there's a shocking twist in the middle of this. I don't really want to spoil it. If you want it spoiled, I'm sure you can look it up and find out. But there's some really, really interesting rep in this book, which it is a spoiler, so I'm not going to explain exactly what it is, but the representation is really unique in a way that I haven't seen before for this book. So if you're in the market for something different, something not so cut and dry, angsty, Blurry Little Lines is a really great book for that. And then I read the third book in the series, the third and final. It is called Hold, Fate and Fiction. There it is. You know me in this podcast, I'm off the top of the dome. I am not prepping. I'm just on a hope and a prayer. Another billionaire romance, fake dating. She's a socialite. She's also a bookstagrammer. And we don't read about bookstagrammers very much. And what's up with that? I want more of these plays to be about us. I think that would be so fun. So I had a lot of fun reading a book that was about a bookish content creator. It wasn't a huge part of the story, but it was fun nonetheless. So that was great. Again, angsty, tension-filled, not so cut and dry, not black and white. So if you like, I hate to use the word messy because I feel like it has a negative connotation, but like just true conflict, angsty romance. That's what Jenna writes. Really good. And I enjoyed it. So that was that. And then I read Over the Moon by Laura Pavlov. Laura has done it again, y'all. The Rosewood River series has blown me away. We're going to talk about the next book in this series, Crazy in Love, later on in this episode. But Laura is writing textbook rom-coms in the best way possible. I told her when I met her this weekend, I said, if aliens came to Earth and they said, oh, romance books, can you give us one that is representative of the entire genre? I would give them My Silver Lining by her. I just feel like she is writing good, pure, classic rom-coms, something that everyone would like. Small town, laugh out loud funny. The audiobooks continue to be amazing. I mean, I am loving this series. This one in particular is a workplace romance. He's a hockey player. She is the trainer. Her dad is the coach. So a little bit of additional forbidden element there. Their banter's great. He's a great MMC, bit golden retriever. You know how I feel about the sweet, sweet boys. I love me a sweet, sweet boy, and he was, in fact, a sweet, sweet boy. So I loved everything about that. We're going to talk about the next book in this series in a minute. Chef's kiss to this. I read Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. Tara DeWitt, come to the front. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Left of Forever was unlike anything I have ever read. It was excellent writing, just excellent execution of authorhood and authorship. It was unique in a way I haven't read before. This is a second chance romance of a divorced couple, a young divorced couple who had a child, perhaps arguably too young, and the pressures of some elements of their marriage got the best of them and they could not move forward. But they quickly realize, not quickly, but they realize that their feelings for one another really haven't strayed too far in their time apart. And so he kind of proposes a road trip when they move their son into college to see if there's a spark still there. And it is beautiful and refreshing and heartbreaking, but at the same time healing. Like, it is everything and more in a romance. It is of the caliber of the 7-Year Slip. And if you've been around, we know how I feel about the 7-Year Slip. I just feel that it is romance excellence. And shout out to Sarah A. Bailey for being the person to send me over the edge and read this book. I'm extremely impressed by this story. So, claps and cheers for Tara DeWitt. If you have not read Left of Forever, now's the time. What are we doing? And then I have actually not read anything else by Tara. I am now going to make it a top priority to do so, but I'm under the impression that this is just who she is. She's just next level, so I'm really excited to read more of her things. I also read Coach Me by Molly Goins for the second time. I love this story. Single dad nanny, grumpy sunshine. We talked about it on my last recap episode, so I will kind of keep it to a minimum. But baseball romance, just really great story, really great work from Molly. So, and now we are getting into September. So really August was not a big month, but September is the doozy. And so I'm going to try to be as concise as possible, but we have a lot of ground to cover. So on your mark, get set, go. I read Stand and Defend by Sloane St. James. We are so back. Wow. That was a reread for me, and Sloane just really outdid herself with this. If you do not know Sloane St. James, I do want to preface by saying her stories are spicy. So if that's not really your jam, this is not for you. But if that is your jam, boy, do I have a treat for you. This book is hockey player, roommates, ex's ex-best friend. Really, really fascinating situation, characters, storyline. So her fiance is caught cheating with her best friend and maid of honor, and he puts her in danger. The ex-fiance does. He is quite threatening, and there are some really dark elements of the story and what people face in relationships like this. And her ex's ex-best friend, because once he finds out all the things that he has done, he's like, we're not best friends anymore, says, I will protect you. You can live with me. I will protect you. And that is essentially the premise of Stand and Defend. There's so much more to it. She kind of comes into herself and finds herself. He helps her do so. So lots of really great elements there. Love this story. It was a reread. It was phenomenal. If you missed it, Sloane experienced a really devastating situation last month. Her and her husband were on Books and Booze cruise out in Alaska, where her husband experienced a cardiac arrest and was ultimately life-flighted to Anchorage, Alaska, where they stayed for weeks, hoping for a recovery for him. As of recording this podcast, he will be making his way home today. And it has been such a beautiful gift to be reminded of what this community can do when we come together for good. There have been auctions and donations and opportunities to support the St. James family, and it has truly been beautiful and awe-inspiring and healing. And I have been just so grateful to get to see it and be a part of it. So, sending all of the love, thoughts, and prayers to Sloane and her family. And it was an honor to reread 2 of her books this month. We'll get into the next one in a little bit. I then read our feature book of the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Shattered Hearts by Renee Parker. This is a mafia romance, and it is, many of you might not know this, I once was a mafia girl. And dare I say I still am a mafia girl. I have not read much mafia as of late because I have been in my small town bag, but that's not to say I don't love a mafia number. And this was my first mafia book in a very long time, and I had a lot of fun with it. So our MMC is the enforcer of the mafia, and he is set to marry the daughter of another mafia group. And as it turns out, the daughter does not show up to the wedding, but her twin is there. And so her father's like, you're going to marry him. And she was like, no, I am not. And he was like, yeah, you are. And as it turns out, the twin who ends up marrying him has been in love with him for years. It's a whole thing. And so she walks down the aisle and they do the whole wedding ceremony. And then the person marrying them's like, you can kiss your bride. And they pull up the veil and he realizes that it's the twin. And he's like, you have got to be kidding me. And so that's kind of the premise of the book. It's them trying to find the twin that ran away, but also them falling for each other. He had absolutely no interest in the twin that ran away. It was like strictly marriage of convenience. They never had feelings for each other. He had always had feelings for the twin he did end up marrying. It was beautiful. I really had a fun time with this story. It's the first book in a series, and it ends on this, like, it's not a cliffhanger, I would say, because their story is complete and done, but there's obviously so much more to the overarching story of the mafia and where the twin went and who her love story might be with. So it's an ongoing story. I have yet to read the next one, but it was my first mafia book in a very long time, and I had a really fun time with it. And I was yet again jaw on the floor, shock and awe over just the mafia elements of it. That's not the type of stuff you get in a small town romance in the best way. And so I had a lot of fun being shocked and awed. I really did. So that was Shattered Hearts by Renee Parker. Again, this podcast episode is brought to you in partnership with this book, and it's our featured book of the week. So happy reading. Thank you to Renee. Next, I read Chasing the Sun by Lena Hendricks. I did an immersive read. Specifically, I kind of leaned heavier on audio on this one, and the audio was fantastic. It is performed in duet. We love a duet performance. And this is the perfect summer to fall transition read. I've said it over and over again, but it's true because it is a coastal Michigan town. However, this town is haunted by a ghost, which I feel like just gives fall vibes. And it's haunted by the ghost of a woman who was awaiting her lover, who is believed to be lost at sea. Kind of through the story, we realize that we're probably going to get more to the story of the ghost over the course of the series, which I'm really excited about. But this book in particular follows a grumpy innkeeper, MMC, who is ex-military single dad. And he is interested in kind of expanding this inn and pursuing his dreams of having a farm-to-table restaurant. But to do this, he needs to buy the land of the farm next door. And the farm is owned by a widower, and he is kind of slowly aging too. And he has told our MMC, like, if you're interested in purchasing this land could be yours. However, our FMC comes to town, has these big ideas of revitalizing the farm for this widower and bringing life back to this small town and creating this tourist attraction for people to want to bring their families to. And the widower's like, you know what? My guy next door hasn't made an effort, really, so it seems. He's waited too long, so sure, go ahead, try to revitalize the farm. So there's this kind of rivalry element to it because he obviously wanted the farm, and now she's revitalizing it. It's kind of taken that opportunity from him. But yeah, the tension's great. The grumpy sunshine of it all is really fun. There's a lot of dynamic to the story. I felt very complete in reading it, which I think is really important nowadays. Is like, okay, I felt like we got a lot of ground covered. The pacing was really good in my opinion, and I really loved this one. A little first in series if you want to dive in somewhere this fall. After Chasing the Sun, I read Fight by Sloane St. James. Again, this is the first book in the Skyridge Hotshot series. This is a share world between 3 authors, but this follows a hotshot firefighter and an EMT who has actually escaped a religious cult and has moved to this small town, and it's kind of friends to lovers to enemies to lovers. And that tension is really great. I've talked about this actually in the first time I read this book a few months ago. I had said that this is the perfect use case of a miscommunication trope because there was quite literally no other option, because he thought he found out something about her that was unfavorable. And technically he did, and technically he was right, but there was also like a huge element to this that he did not get that was very vital to kind of his forgiveness of the situation. And so at the same time, they didn't even know each other well. They were practically strangers. So why would he confront her about this thing that's technically true? I don't know. It was a whole thing, but I really, really feel like it was the best use case of a miscommunication trope. It happens earlier in the book, so that's not the third act of it all, which I really appreciated it. And it was not meaningless in any way, so lovely. Reread A Fight. Then I read, this is really hard for me to say this first word, I don't know why, but we're going to try on the first try. Here we go. Admittedly for Me. Yes, by Jenna Lockwood. So yes, after I did the Billionaire series by Jenna, I was like, well, let's go to the small town. And she brought her signature angst into the small town romance. It was really interesting. It was kind of second chance, but not. They had kind of spent the summer together. He helped her grieve the loss of her parents. And at the time, she was under the impression that he was dating one of her good friends, and he actually wasn't anymore. It was kind of like a high school relationship that ran its course. They agreed to break up, but didn't want to tell her they had broken up because she had had so much change in her life. So anyway, she had kind of fallen for him over that summer, and he'd actually kind of fallen for her too. But she thought that he was still dating the best friend. Hopefully you're with me. And if not, I apologize. So anyway, she leaves. She's been gone for years, but she's come back to the town for a month for her friend's wedding. The ex of this guy who's getting married to someone else. And he, all this time, has kind of been biding his time until she came back because she's always been the one. And he is like with that program. And he's just waiting for her to get with the program. So he's kind of been her rock in her, the moon to her tide, if you will. And she's just kind of had a tumultuous internal experience, I would say. And so the book and the angst of it all is her coming back to herself and ultimately in that coming back to him. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. First book in a series, small town, heavy angst, heavy tension. Again, not super clean cut, not black and white. And I loved the realness of that. So that was that. Then I read Mountain Time by Trevor and India Rice. This was so fun. Okay, so they're actually going to be on the podcast next week. So clap and cheer, get excited about that. But Trevor is an actual bull rider. And India's his wife, who's incredible. She grew up living ranch life. So she is very, very equipped to write this kind of story as well. But this is a bull rider romance. And it was so fun to get to chat with them. I don't want to get too much into it on this episode because we have a whole episode talking about it next week. But it's a bull rider romance. He falls in love with a girl who is hoping to take over her family's ranch one day. The story is not Trevor and India's love story, but it is just so fun because they're so knowledgeable on these topics. So can't wait to talk about that next week. That's going to be coming to us on the 7th of October is release day. So pumped about that. That's Mountain Time. Then I reread Silver Sanctuary by Tilly H. Colson. Romantic suspense, third book in a series. Single mom, Silver Fox MMC. The town hates her and blames her for the sins of her mother and is unwilling to forgive her, even though she's returned to town years later to hopefully make amends with this town. And it's so messy in the best way. He offers to enter into kind of an engagement of protection for her so that the town will respect her and take care of her a little bit more. And it was fascinating and really well done. Third book in the series. I think it's Tilly's best work to date until the fourth book comes out. I interviewed Tilly on the podcast last episode. So if you want to hear more about that book, that is where you can find all that information. Then I read Game On by Kai Stevens. It is a college football romance. She is a English FMC. He's a Southern MMC. So that was really fun. It's set in Nashville. It's called Whitland University. It's Ivy League. So that kind of leads me to think that there are some like Vanderbilt, potentially alleged connections there, which was really fun. As many of you know, I am from Nashville, so I really enjoyed. I don't think I had ever read a book set here, so it was really, really fun to get to read a book from my hometown where I live and I've grown up. It's just, I don't know, there was something about it that was really special, but I really enjoyed this story. She's a cheerleader, he's a football player, and he actually has experience in cheer. And when her partner is injured and can't go to Daytona, he kind of steps in. I mean this with the utmost respect when I use this comparison, but it is, the books are not the same, the writing is not the same, but it is similar to the icebreaker of it all, where he steps in and helps her with the figure skating, even though he's a hockey player. It was this football player stepping in and helping with the cheerleading. So there was that. Then I read Bad for Business by Kat Singleton. I'm going to try to move faster here. I'm sorry. That was a workplace, forced proximity, black cat golden retriever, billionaire romance set in the Hamptons. Then I read the first 2 books in the Arrowwood Brothers series by Corinne Michaels. That was so fun. Corinne is just so great at what she does. She's been in the game and she just knows how to write a small town romance. And it was so fun to go back in her backlist and read these. The first book is A Second Chance. They had one night together and they've never forgotten each other. And it turns out that her daughter is in fact his. Yes. But she's with a horrible husband. And that is ultimately resolved. But they are kind of trying to navigate this parenthood together. Now that he's back in town, he's in the military, or he was in the military. He's just retired. And so that was really interesting. Fight for Me is the second book, a little accidental pregnancy, second chance romance. And the tension is crazy. If you listen to Corinne's episodes, she kind of talks about, she just lets the story speak to her. And man, did this story speak to her, because it was wild in the best way. The plot line was wild, everything about it, but I loved it. Then I read Built by Design by Jenna Lockwood. This is, again, the second book in that small town romance series, and it is a workplace. She's the designer. He owns the construction company. They had an evening together weeks ago, didn't realize that they would be working together. Now she's in the small town, living on his property, and the tension between them is crazy high, but his business partner is like, do not sleep with the new designer. But the business partner doesn't realize that this is the girl that he fell for all those weeks ago. Reformed playboy, small town boy, city girl. Both of them have kind of like a really difficult past. And then on top of all this, she's in a marriage contract, a lavender marriage contract with someone else. So yeah, that's Built by Design. She's in the lavender marriage contract. My camera died, sorry. And she's hoping to get out of it because she's fallen for this city boy. Well, she wanted to get out of it before then. Like, they signed it when they were 18 and didn't know any better. But now that it's going to be up at her age of 27, she's like, this is not what I want for myself in my life. I want true love. I want all of the things that people have when they're in a happy, healthy relationship. And so that was really beautiful. Then I read The Lair. Lair, The Lair by Lucina Coney. Interesting. So this book towed the line in many ways between women's fiction and romance, and I'm going to talk about it. I'll spend some time on this one. So this book follows an FMC, an adult FMC, but her parents were family vloggers, and it kind of unpacks the impacts of family vlogging on a child, especially a child that was no longer interested, especially in her teen years, in being filmed and her life being shared with the public. And she had actually been kidnapped in her young teen years because of her exposure on the internet, and her parents just didn't care. And so she's run away and escaped this and is slowly falling for her boss on the opposite side of the country, and she's trying to hide her identity so people don't know who she is and she can start over and live her own life, essentially. And it's first person single POV, so you only get her POV. And I think that was vital to this story, because I think the story that Lucina was trying to tell was the story of the family vlogger. Like, the romantic suspense was part of it, the romance was part of it, but I think the story that she was trying to tell had to be told from the FMC's perspective. And if it would have been a dual POV situation, we wouldn't have gotten to experience all of these family vlogger impact elements that I think she wanted to tie in. So go into this book knowing that it is a romance, and there are romance elements, and it is romantic suspense, and there are romantic suspense elements. But at the end of the day, what this book really is the story of the child of a family vlogger family and the impacts that had on her. So then I read The Badge by Lena Hendricks. Lena, what? This was so fascinating. So fascinating. Okay. FMC, police officer. MMC, former mafia enforcer in witness protection as a cowboy on a ranch in Montana. You heard me. Mafia cowboy romance. Oh my gosh. And it was done so well. So, Redemption Ranch is this ranch in Montana where both people in witness protection can go and work and not have to live out of a hotel in fear for their lives. It's a very rural location. And on the flip side, marshals live there, like U.S. Marshals and people who protect people in witness protection live on this ranch as well. They kind of live in harmony in this community in an effort to protect one another and have a semblance of a normal life. And dang, was it fascinating. Like, wow. It was so interesting. So this police officer is sent actually to this ranch as kind of a test from her upper management at the police station so that she can eventually become an ATF agent. And she ends up falling for this mafia enforcer in witness protection. An unlikely pairing in the best way. It was fascinating. There was suspense elements. My heart was racing because obviously he's in witness protection and hiding from something, but also he saved her life. And the incident that he saved her life is what put him in witness protection. Anyway, it was crazy. Lena, you're wild. It was phenomenal. I loved this book. It's probably my favorite Lena Hendricks book, which is crazy, but I loved it because I've read 10 Lena books before this. So this is my 11th, and I think it's my favorite. So I love that. Rounding out the month, because I'm doing about a book a day, I'm planning on reading Cowboy Casual by Holly Renee and Come What May by Corinne Michaels. So that should round me out for the month. Oh, and Crazy in Love. I'm finishing that audiobook today. That's that Laura Pavlov number that I was saying I was going to come back to. I'm loving that Grumpy Sunshine billionaire romance. He has been accusing her for books and books and books that she writes this tea column in the newspaper that her family owns, and she proves to him, like, I'm not writing this. And he's mad because his family's being exposed in the column, etc. And she's like, I swear to you, I'm not writing this. So there's like kind of this enemies to lovers tension with that, where she's like, I swear I'm not doing this to your family. And he's insistent that he is. And when he's wrong, he kind of has to grovel and make that up for her. But also, he hates to say I'm sorry. He's not a man to apologize. And so I really liked that as well. With that being said, that's everything I've read in the past 2 months. We went really rapid fire. This podcast is probably not going to be heavily edited because I'm going to be honest with you guys. Part of the issue with this podcast is I was editing it pretty heavily and making it super snappy, but it was taking hours and hours and hours to edit, and that was hours and hours I didn't have. And I was like, you know what? I feel like y'all would just prefer to have a more raw, uncut podcast than none at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the direction I'm going. So that's what I'm thinking. That's my hope for this podcast. Hopefully you all can get behind it with me. But I'm back and things are good. There's a Taylor Swift album releasing this week, so hopefully maybe we could do a little The Life of a Showgirl book recommendations episode here in the next few weeks. Trevor and India will be on next week, which will be super fun. But hopefully you're enjoying your books. Hopefully we're going into the cozy fall season ready to read. And yeah, I'll cut myself off here. But I will see you very soon, I promise. Thank you as always for spending your time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.